Let's talk about junk slabs. People are calling this the potential junk slab era, which is the flood of graded cards that should, in theory, start flooding into the market. In this video, I'll reveal the truth about junk slabs, why I'm not worried, and what you need to do about the flood of junk slabs that might be on the way. If this is your first time here, I'm Kakashi with Kanto Capital, and this is where you get gems, not hype. I'm not selling you my cards, I'm not a professional YouTuber, and I never even thought we'd get to 500 subs, let alone 2,000. That's just still boggles my mind. And I'm a business owner with significant experience in finance, and I also happen to invest into Pokemon cards. Okay, let's get back to the topic about junk slabs. First, I want to cover that I know PSA has doubled their prices. I know that's really big news, and I know it's something a lot of people are speculating on what's going to happen there. But regardless, that doesn't change what's happened for the past year. It doesn't change that people are speculating on common reverse holos or grading $2 to $5 cards and selling them for $60 to $80 and people are actually buying them. So while the PSA price increases are relevant, the bottom line is that it doesn't change that there is still a year of graded cards that are still on the way. They are still coming and they will keep coming back for quite a while. And despite all of this disturbing news, I really have no worries. And I know it sounds kind of crazy. Am I crazy to not worry about junk slabs? Well, maybe I am a little crazy, but I'm not really that worried. And yes, I have still even bought graded cards in the middle of this bull market. And again, just give me a chance to explain and then you'll see the light. All right, first let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, I do believe a flood of cards is coming, and of course, more supply can affect the prices. I think there will be a lot of slabs, a lot of graded cards that will be coming back into the market. And here's what no one has really seemed to mention that at least I haven't heard anyone mention this. And it's not going to be the first wave of cards that starts returning. It's not going to be that first wave. It's going to be those second and third and those fourth waves of PSA returns that will really cause some havoc. Because it's only as we started to get really deep into this bull market, that's when we started to see more weird and interesting and unusual cards start to gain traction. The first growth wave was really about Vintage and Wizards of the Coast. But later in our growth cycle, that's when we started seeing the mass-produced cards start to go up in price. The weird cards like commons and reverse holos and other lower value cards that started selling for high prices in PSA 9 and PSA 10. It all happened as the bull market started to reach full force and people started looking for lower priced items to speculate on. And so yes, I do think there is a genuine reason to be concerned. And that might sound a little confused. I mean, how can someone like me say I'm not worried, but at the same time I'm worried? How can I talk and preach about both sides? So here's the thing. If you guys follow my channel, and I mean really follow and pay attention and watch all of my videos from beginning to end, and the stats say that most people don't do that, but if you watch my videos from beginning to end, and you'll see that I always do my best to empower you to make better decisions. And the reason I'm not worried about the potential flood of PSA cards is that the actions that I've been talking about, the things that I've been revealing on this channel, help protect you from that potential problem. It doesn't mean you're invincible. It doesn't prevent a bear market. It doesn't mean that prices can't maybe go down in the short term, but it does help protect you and insulate you from the downside. And the key is really to hedge your bets. You want to have a balanced portfolio, hedge your bets in different directions, and you do that by buying wisely and buying to the best of your ability. First, if you're worried about PSA cards flooding the market, then just try to stay away from graded cards. It's actually really simple. If you think it's too risky, then don't buy them. If the hype says yes and your gut is telling you no, think, who has your best interest in mind? If I'm selling you cards, if I'm literally selling you cards, and then I'm telling you, oh, don't worry, prices are going to keep going up, but I'm the one selling you those cards, my opinion might be a little bit biased. I might have an incentive to tell you that prices will go up. But if you are telling yourself, if that voice inside of your head is telling you that it's risky, you know that you have your best interest in mind. You know that you are worried about you. And so if you think graded cards are risky right now, and there might be a flood of cards coming back from PSA and BGS and CGC, then it's really simple. Just stay away from them. For me personally, I've mostly stayed away from graded cards since the middle of this bull run. Basically, all of the graded cards that you have seen on this channel, they were bought well before any of these price spikes. And if I bought any recently, I actually haven't showed any graded cards that I've bought recently, but the ones that I have bought, I bought them when the value of the purchase was just so obvious to me, I couldn't pass on it. I'll eventually make a video about that concept, and so make sure if you subscribed if you haven't already. But as far as my recent purchases, I've basically only bought ungraded low-risk cards. And if you watch my Q&A video or one of my most recent purchases video, you'll notice that you don't see graded cards in those videos. I'm telling you, I've been showing you all along. You just have to watch, pay attention. Just watch the videos, folks. And doing this protects you in case the market shifts. For example, graded cards might one day not hold the massive premium that it does today. I think it'll always have a premium. I think it deserves to have a premium because it does take away some of the uncertainty away from a transaction. But will it be the same as we're seeing today? Are you going to be able to grade a $20 card into a PSA 10 and be worth $200? Is that always going to be the case? I don't know. Historically, this is not really how it worked in Pokemon unless it was a high value or higher demand card, a card that's difficult to grade, some reason to justify the price premium. But buying ungraded protects you from that uncertainty until we find out what is really going to happen. So first thing, if you're worried about the flood of PSA cards coming back, then just don't buy graded cards right now. And speaking for me personally, again, I have mostly avoided graded cards. The next reason is another shift that I had mentioned on this channel. I had mentioned again in a past video that I shifted my focus to more exclusive cards. And when I talk about exclusive cards, I'm talking about things like promo cards, limited run cards, prize cards, those type of cards that have more exclusivity. And I want to be clear, I absolutely love set cards. I think set cards like Cosmic Eclipse and Hidden Fates and those traditional cards, I think they are great and they have insane upside potential. In my opinion, the most demand is always going to be on the mainstream side. And most of the demand is going to be with the cards that people have a deep connection with. And that will most likely be set cards. But with the market being where it is today, I saw better value and safety in other places. Because cards like promo cards, the supply is already out there. It's not going to change. There might be a lot of Kanazawa Pikachu cards, for example, but they probably aren't going to be reprinted, and you aren't going to be pulling them out of the packs. What is out there is out there. Special Delivery Pikachu, another great example. I got mine directly from the Pokemon Center. This was basically a no risk or low risk purchase, and it's another card that you won't be getting from packs. I can't say they won't make more of these, but there's definitely less risk. And again, this is basically a low risk free card. It's another way that you can be hedging your risk and protecting yourself from a potential PSA card flood. Again, you see I'm getting raw cards and I'm getting cards that are more limited. Cards that are harder to get, cards with limited distribution, cards that will probably never be released again. And they're less likely to be sold back into the market. And this is very important. If you need money and you have to sell some cards, what do? You probably keep the cards that you treasure the most, and you keep the cards that are hard to get. And that's what other people will tend to do if they need to sell. For example, the base set Charizard. It's an iconic card, but it has over 20,000 unlimited cards graded at PSA. And this is speaking as someone who owns the card. And it's up to 25,000 if you include Shadowless and First Edition. That's a very large supply. And there's probably more out there too. And then there's the Mimikyu Scream promo card. It was released exclusively in Japan. It was at an art exhibit that you had to get it, and it was in a very small window of time. And right now there's only about 600 cards graded. Both are great cards, but if you needed to sell one, which card do you think is harder to find? The one with 20,000 cards or the one with 600 cards? which card will you have an easier time getting back if you want to get it again in the future. So if you like both cards equally, you can sell this Charizard because there's always some available. And that's why this card is more susceptible to retraces in a downturn. This Pikachu card that you had to win in Japan over a decade ago. Less than 50 of these cards are graded ever at PSA. Or you can compare this to, let's say, a Hidden Fates Umbreon, which has almost 1,000 cards graded. So you have 50 cards versus 1,000 cards. And I'm sure there's a lot more on the way to PSA right now. I love Hidden Fates, and that isn't some secret, but if you need to sell a card, I would sell the Umbreon in a heartbeat because I know I'll have years to buy another one in mint condition. But this Pikachu card, finding it in mint condition will be much more difficult when there's only 50 graded in the population. I believe in base set and I believe in Hidden Fates. I think they are both incredibly important sets, and I make it no secret on this channel that I believe in them long term. But if you want to protect yourself from a potential flood of PSA cards coming into the market, thinking about these situations and what people do is critical. $1,000 cards, $20 cards, it all works the same. They're different, but they work the same. So if you're worried about a flood of PSA cards coming into the market, this is what you do. You focus on cards that are less likely to be flooding into the market. The next reason I'm really just not that worried is that for this bull run, I've been more focused when it comes to modern on sealed product. Now, I'm not going to go into the full details about why the merits of sealed product. I have a full video about booster boxes, so make sure you watch that if you haven't already. But for this bull run, I've focused more on sealed product because of its fundamentals. Over time, the supply of sealed product only gets smaller. And yes, I understand it can be reprinted, but in the long term, because we focus on long term here, long-term exponential growth. In the long term, the supply will only get smaller on sealed product if we're looking 5 years out or 10 years out. And when you buy sealed at launch, you're buying at technically most likely the lower end. It's not guaranteed to hold its value, but it's very likely on the lower end of the spectrum. So if I buy sealed product at day one retail price, I'm theoretically getting these at a very low cost. And in the long run, the supply only gets smaller. So if we're worried about PSA cards flooding the market and PSA and graded cards increasing in supply, but you still want exposure into Pokemon, sealed is a much safer, cheaper option, and you still get exposure into set cards, those same cards, but with less risk. So yes, there is reason to be concerned about the potential for junk slabs or this junk slab era. But if you buy strategically and you are bullish on Pokemon in the long term like I am, there really isn't much to worry about. Just like you would continue to put money into your 401k or your stock market portfolios or your real estate, you can do the same with Pokemon as long as you really think about what you're doing and discover the tricks that I'm always revealing on this channel. You can limit your risk and continue to build a great collection. I'm Kakashi with Kanto Capital. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.